I made it to my couch with about 6 minutes to go in the second quarter of the Nuggets T-Wolves game. And I was like, okay, this is good.
Yeah.
Going to watch 2.5 quarters, and this is going to be the best stuff. And at that point, it was like a 7-8 point lead. By the time it was up to 20,
58-38.
I mean, I got to admit, I thought, this is going to be Denver's game. And then in a matter of probably 6 or 7 minutes, I went, I'm not kidding. I mean, going from this is going to be Denver's game to like, ooh, boy, Denver might be in trouble here.
Yeah,
Michael Porter couldn't hit water from a boat. Right. And, he was dog crap, and that's really that entire series. To go from shooting 55% from three or whatever he did against the Lakers have to be like, what?
Yeah.
He was he was unplayable by the last game and a half or so of this last series. It was just terrible. Seeing the way Joker was missing from distance and then watching Anthony Edwards guard Jamal Murray was like, whoa, baby, Denver might actually be in trouble here. And Denver was in trouble.
But Murray did get his, but it turned into a two-man game the whole entire second half. Malone even mentioned that in between quarters to the sideline reporter. It was Murray and Joker, and that was it. That was it the whole second half. And Murray was okay, scored, but Joker was just okay as well.
I mean, he had like 34 and 19. It's hard to say that's just okay,
exactly.
but they lost.
They lost, and he missed some key threes that he decided to take,
And quite frankly, he looked tired, and he was getting beat to offensive. I mean, he was like on their defensive end. How many times in the last 5 minutes did you see either Gobert, Reed, or Towns beat him for an offensive rebound?
Right.
No doubt. Like, as good as the box score looked, there were times and it was like, wait a minute, is he exhausted? And maybe he was.
But also he had no help from his teammates. So it was still kind of shocking because when you build a 20-point lead, but I was telling my son as we're watching as the lead faded, like, we always go crazy. Oh, they had a 20-point lead. But, okay, just as easy as you get a 20-point lead, the other team can go on a run too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that happens. It's just weird to happen in Game 7 at home in the second half, right?
Yes.
You're supposed to play a little bit looser with the lead and a little tighter when you're behind. That didn't happen. The loose team was Minnesota. They just tightened up defensively. So kind of a shocker, but defending champs don't repeat. So,
Well, since when? I mean, that's. I'm glad you.
Well,
made
last 5 or 6 years, I guess. Yeah.
I'm glad you made this segue because I was just going to ask you guys that. Speaking of things that we hear on the broadcast, and I told you the stat I saw in Get Up. This was mentioned multiple times by the TNT crew last night. No defending champ has made it even to the conference semis. I'm sorry, to the conference finals excuse me, past the conference semis now in 6 straight years. So when you say defending champs don't repeat, up until 6 years ago, the history of the NBA has been dynasties.
True.
Celtics, Lakers, Bulls. Rockets won a back-to-back. I know the Spurs never won back-to-back, so I won't put them in there. Lakers again, Warriors, Heat, the Pistons. The entire history of the league has been nothing but the best teams go on these runs. It's littered with dynasties. Now the Warriors are the last team to repeat in 17 and 18. Warriors in 18, Raptors in 19, Lakers in 20, Bucks in 21, Warriors again in 22, Nuggets last year, new champion this year. When did this happen? Okay. And let me ask you this. Why is it happening?
I've got a theory. No idea if it holds water. Because I didn't know we were going to go this route. So that's
what we do, Jess.
No, I know. This is off my top of my head. I haven't researched it. Right?
Good. That's the best way. You're going to be wrong about something and everybody's going to make fun of you.
See if you agree with me.
Okay. Somebody's Siri. Your Siri's listening.
Yeah. So here's my theory on this. Okay. So the last half decade, or in the last decade, maybe since LeBron did the I'm taking my talents to Miami, but in the last little while, the NBA has turned into the very elite and the very crappy, right? Do you agree with that kind of?
Tanking is sort of, become in vogue here, trying to...
And also stars sort of congregating.
Coming together. Yeah.
So when that happens, there's a little bit more parity among the elite teams. So it's not as easy to become a dynasty because there's 4 or 5 teams that might knock you off in the very next year. Does that make... Because those are 4 or 5 really good teams. Because remember, the converse is there's 4 or 5 really crappy teams at the bottom.
Is the league better now because there are just more star players? There are better players top to bottom on rosters. There are more athletic players.
And I think we, meaning the league, is able to congregate them more, or I guess by design, right? There's something about that the league at the top has more parity. I mean, I think you'd agree with that. The league at the top has more parity.
Yes,
and it's because half the league isn't trying to win.
That
basically.
could be. That could
I
be.
think so. Then the other half gets the benefit of that, and there's more. Like all of a sudden in the NBA, it's becoming hard to repeat. It's never been hard to repeat in the NBA, and I don't mean that like, of course, repeating is hard. Right.
I mean it like, just when we look at the history of the league, you would never say, "Oh wow, a repeat champion."
But even just the conference
league is littered
finals
with repeat champions.
But just even take it a step further with the conference finals. Now they
can't even get to the conference finals.
That doesn't feel like a coincidence. That it's just fluky. That teams can't even get back to the conference final.
You just said, oh, I hope I don't say something that's wrong. And have we ever gone this long without a back-to-back champion in the NBA? There's no way, right?
I don't think so, but you would know better than I do.
Well, there's no way.
We haven't gone 5 years without a back-to-back champion?
Does that seem like it's ever happened? Maybe in the 70s?
I guess I haven't. Yeah.
Certainly not in the 60s. Certainly not in the 80s. Not
definitely
in the 90s.
not in the 90s. I know that. Last decade.
I mean, when is the last time we've gone this stretch in the NBA? If
we have a machine that can tell us that.
I'm going to bring up the entire league history on Basketball Reference.
I mean, Chris
Black's looking right now.
No, I say Chris Black probably knows off the top of his head.
Yeah, I think I saw something. This is the first time.
Okay,
it's got to be right, Chris.
Yeah,
it's got to be.
It'll be the first time that there's 6 different champions in 6 years.
All right,
this is not the history of the league.
I thought I saw a post earlier this morning talking about it, dating back to the Raptors winning in 2019.
Exactly.
So
there you go.
Does my theory hold water, Blecky?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly deeper. I would also say, you may not have back-to-back champions, but in this 6-year run, LeBron got a title again.
That's true.
And the Warriors got another title.
Oh, yeah.
Very
so,
true.
like, are we just saying that those are one-offs in that situation, or do those connect to the previous runs?
Right.
Yeah,
Now,
I know
LeBron's
with the Lakers never had others, but it was like there was that whole thing of LeBron going to the conference finals and the finals year after year, no matter what team he was on.
Right.
Yeah,
that's true.
While I say it doesn't feel fluky or a coincidence, it is only 5 years or 6 years. So,
but in the NBA, it's an eternity.
I get it.
It's not like baseball. It's not like football.
Well, here's the question for our listeners. I mean, like, do you like it better this way, or
that's a good question.
Sort of the dynasty way?
Yeah, it's a good question.
It's kind of fun to have new teams in it, and the defending champion gets knocked off at home. That's a good storyline. Now you have Cat and Ant-Man going for their first championship in an organization that is not a traditional winner, at least since Garnett.
Yeah, I love Anthony Edwards.
Who doesn't?
I would imagine this hurts the league. I think the league is healthiest when there's a team that even casual sports fans know is the absolute best. That then you can hope either to root for or against.
And I think the against is a big thing, Chris. I think sometimes the villain thing is kind of good. I think when the Heat were doing their thing, or when LeBron went back to Cleveland, I think it was a good villain. It was good for the league. I kind of think Chris is right on that.
Like, if you look at ratings in any sport, when you have a dynasty, even though people will say, oh, I'm sick of seeing Alabama Clemson again, okay, or Alabama Georgia again, or I'm sick of seeing the Warriors, the ratings would dictate that people watch more when someone is trying to repeat or, have a dynasty.
When there's a dominant presence, I think it does attract more attention. I think that's very true.
Right, but of course, there has to be a first time for everything. So my point being, let's say Minnesota does win it all this year, and Edwards is just a monster. Boy. Now he's a known commodity to the casual fan, sports fan, and next year maybe they become like that team. So
yeah, you make
have
a
to
great
do it
point.
the first time,
Yeah, like the story has to connect to the future. For example, if Giannis, Jokic, or Kawhi never do it again, they feel like one-off champions.
Yeah.
But if Giannis gets others, and then, like you said, Jesse, if Anthony Edwards is the guy who gets crowned this year, or Luka Doncic gets crowned, and then they can become the face of the league, and that's the person people are watching each and every year, I think it helps the league. But it does seem like an interesting, I don't know if parity is necessarily better for the NBA. Where in football, it makes it why we love it.
It drives it. It drives it in football. Yeah,
I know we got a break, but by the way, like this playoff and this next series in the West, especially to me, is a reminder that NBA playoff basketball is great.
It's great.
Again, another question we could put out there: is there any other sport currently where, and this is my own opinion, the regular season sucks and the playoffs is still great? I don't like 240-point games, from October to April. But I love this. I love this.
Playoffs in every sport. It always gets turned up. I mean, it just does.
The contrast from regular season to playoffs, I don't think the contrast is as big in hockey or football or baseball.
That could be. Because
this I love. I love. 3 weeks ago,
not so much.
Not so much.
Which way do you like it, folks? I mean, is this a little bit better? Do you wish there was, that one team or that one dynasty that you could root for or against? And I guess, like the guy said, it's got to start somewhere. Maybe it starts with the Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards this year. We'll see. But to not have a repeat winner for this many years in a row now in the NBA, it's never happened before in the history of the league. It's just strange.